just very quickly, in case everybody hasn't already heard the news. Mr. Trump was accused and found guilty on all 34 charges. And I want everyone who is wondering, well, why isn't Joe Biden being brought up on the same exact charges? Well, right at the moment, he's a sitting US president. So that gives him a Teflon flak jacket.
Hmm.
After he's no longer a sitting US president, perhaps it'll be taken up. Okay. But also, I want you to realize that this is like a Nazi jury convicting a Jew in World War II Germany. This is, he has been attacked and vilified, and all of these things have happened to him in a municipal court in New York City, which is one of the cities in the empire of the city. So we didn't even have to go through this whole process, this whole circus, and all this money and testifying and anything, because they have a absolute carte blanche, and they start out from the perspective that you are guilty until proven innocent. And this is all happening under the constraints and definitions provided by the defunct 14th Amendment. So it's all hokey anyhow. But as you can see, there is no kind of justice or any attempt at justice in the political realm. And unfortunately, this is all about two foreign private corporations in competition with each other to provide governmental services and continuing on basically a hate vendetta that is just as horrible and as nasty as the Israeli-Palestinian fight. So no surprises that he was convicted on all counts. I will tell you very honestly that I have respect for Donald Trump as a astute businessman and as a firm hand at the tiller. This is obvious in the actual results of his presidency versus the presidency of Joe Biden. Anybody who wants to look at the record does not need any great amount of intellect to realize that Trump was an excellent president in terms of assisting and promoting the economy of this country. And nobody has to even think about it to know that Joe Biden has had the exact opposite effect. So for that reason, I have extended our knowledge to Mr. Trump about this situation. We have made it freely available to his staff, to his attorneys, and they simply haven't listened to us. For whatever reason, they thought that they could go into a municipal court and pay no attention to the municipal authority and just waltz through this and find justice in a municipal court, which is impossible. The most that you can get out of a municipal court, folks, is to convince them that they don't want to deal with you and dismiss the case. So Mr. Trump, unfortunately, did not take our advice, did not listen to the logic or the history of the whole setup, and now has to deal with the fallout of having been convicted on all of these essentially bogus charges. Now, other things that you should know that are happening and that you're not going to see widely expressed or available in the mainstream news. And I'm counting on you to tell your friends and neighbors and And, be aware. They're trying to reinstitute the draft. There are basically two reasons. The first is that they have managed to alienate and irritate Russia to a point where Russia has moved 11 nuclear submarines into the Atlantic, which is usually more or less our playpen. So there is some serious saber rattling going on, and we need to be aware, and we need to protect our children from being illegally press ganged and, conscripted, which is the land jurisdiction version of it. Both of those things are illegal, have been illegal and unlawful for many, many years. Press ganging has been illegal for at least 200 years, and forced conscription on the land has been illegal for almost that long. So when these mercenaries come to call, wise your children up as to what this is really about, and it has nothing to do with the flag or defending our country or patriotism or democracy or anything else. It has to do with two very venal mercenary forces being booted up to go fight for a bunch of corporate interests. And so just say no. The selective service and their laws and everything do not pertain to us. They never did pertain to us. They pertain to our employees. And the moment that they start talking about standing under the Constitution, you know that they are foreigners, because the American subcontractor hasn't been operating since the 1860s. So that leaves the British territorials and the Holy Roman Empire successors, and it has nothing whatsoever to do with us. And, if enough of us educate ourselves and say it vehemently enough and say it publicly enough and spread the word and make other people in other corners of the world understand what's really going on here, they will not be able to draft your children and grandchildren into these horrible wars that are for nothing but mercenary ends to serve the benefit of rich men who have already defrauded all of us. So they're trying to get a smoke screen going, basically. They're going to try to hide behind the chaos and urgency and emergency and all that crap of war, when again, it's not a war and cannot be a war, because guess what? The only Congress that is actually authorized to declare war is not in session. So all they can do is another military conflict, another mercenary conflict. And I just want to encourage all of you to batten down, protect your children, protect your families, make your resistance to any kind of draft or forced conscription known right up front. Even though those people in that Congress are not representing us, they need to know as our employees that we do not support this and will not pay for it, and will not tolerate having our children illegally conscripted and press ganged. So they can just take their selective service and shove it. Another aspect that you need to be aware of is that the long-term contracts guaranteeing that Saudi Arabia's oil would be sold to us and would go to our refineries, that contract is ending. And the Saudis have already made arrangements to participate in the BRICS Coalition Bank. So we have a situation where the Saudis may be selling their oil to whomever they please, at whatever price they please, and that will leave U.S. refineries without the crude oil supplies that they need to continue producing the large quantities of refined oil products that this regime has depended upon. Now, from what I am seeing, the Saudis are not pleased with what has gone on in the Middle East. They are not pleased at all with the Biden regime and its fumbling and its horrible economic results and all the rest of it. And I do imagine that they will be selling oil freely to Russia, that Russia will be providing a larger percentage of refined oil products to Europe, and that Europe will press for this because obviously the Soviet Union is closer to Europe than the US, and it has a certain advantage, a home field playing advantage, when it comes to providing those refined oil products. So be prepared. The very liberal political party, the quote unquote progressive Democratic Party wing, is caught between a rock and a hard place. And that rock is that they have gone so whole hog into all this Green New Deal crap that they have already damaged the oil industry considerably, and they won't have a way of backing out and saying, oh, well, we changed our mind. Let's develop American oil resources, or let's develop Canadian oil resources to get the crude oil that they need to continue selling refined oil products. This is another thing a lot of people are not aware of. All the time that they've been, ki-eyeing and crying and poor-mouthing and carrying on about, oh, there's not enough oil, we always have an oil shortage, all this stuff. At the same time that these pikers were complaining about the constant lack of oil and the need for more crude oil and blah, 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 there are two things that you have to be aware of, just to demonstrate what liars these people are. Number one, at the same time that all this ki-eyeing about not having enough crude oil was going on, they were actually among the top 3 of oil exporters worldwide the entire time. And they only were showing a dearth of crude oil because they wanted more crude oil so they could produce more refined oil products. So that's what the whole thing about the oil shortage was about. It had nothing really to do with any real oil shortage. It had to do with them not having all of the oil that they wanted to be able to produce refined oil products. And at the same time that they were crying about all this, they were exporting all the refined oil products and reaping all of the value added profits off of those refined oil products. Okay, so they're just liars. They're outright shameless liars. And at the same time, you should know that when Tricky Dick Nixon did all of this back in the 70s and created the petrodollar and began using the petrochemical asset as the basis backing the USD, he set this up with a long-term contract with Saudi Arabia, which, as I explained, is now ending. And he just neglected to tell you and me and everybody else at the time that there is a huge, huge oil reservoir that is light sweet crude that exists very close by comparison to our refinery system, just all along the eastern edge of the Rockies. It is a monstrously big oil basin that they have known about since the 1920s. But they cashiered it away and didn't develop it, even though it would have made logical sense because of the natural resource policy put in place by Theodore Roosevelt. And basically what that natural resource policy by Teddy Roosevelt, the Republican, was that we would buy other people's natural resources for pennies on the dollar and use their natural resources to stoke our industries while sitting on our own natural resources and, saving those for a rainy day. Then they went around and they leveraged all these other governments, and they basically told all these other governments, you go along and you sell us your natural resources at a price that is agreeable to us, and we'll develop those natural resources for a profit. And in exchange, we will keep our own natural resources out of the market so that you get a better price for your natural resources overall. So it wasn't just a rather cynical leveraging scheme. It was also a commodity rigging scheme that was put into place by the Republican cronies of Teddy Roosevelt, who, of course, was a fan and admirer of such criminal scum as Cecil Rhodes and Lord Pirbright and Henry Wellcome, whose legacy we have just reaped again with the entire pandemic. Anyway, they've been playing all these games with our resources, either releasing them or not releasing them, developing them or not developing them. And they have been using all this leverage and all these lies to compete with or against or for all these different foreign countries without any regard whatsoever for the American people. We have not benefited one iota from any of our own natural resources. They've just been sort of sitting there in the ground and have not been brought forward for any benefit to any of us. Now, I don't know how many of you know this about me, and if anybody has bothered to look into my history that deeply, but my very first book was a book called Alaska's Natural Gas. And it's essentially a book that exposes the vast, vast resource that we have of natural gas in this country. That we can't use because the oil companies and the government officials of these two corporations, these district corporations, have gotten together and said, oh, well, we don't want to develop that Alaskan natural gas potential with, something like 33 trillion cubic yards of propane already ready to just pump out of the Arctic. We don't want to develop that because we want to get high prices for natural gas fields that we've already developed on the Pacific Rim. We want to basically screw the Americans and screw the Chinese both at the same time for our profit and according to our convenience and our schedule and how we feel that we want to spend our investment dollars to maximize our profits. And no, we don't care that people in Alaska need that energy resource in order to develop their economy. No, we don't care that the Chinese are starving and going to bed at night, freezing cold for lack of having sufficient energy resources. We're just in it for ourselves, the big, oil companies sitting there going, okay, and this is the kind of stuff that's been going on in this country ever since Theodore Roosevelt began his natural resources policy. Now, all these things are creating a push and shove effect, and I think you should also know that the Federal Reserve note that we use as a domestic currency is not the same as the USD, which is also a form of money, but is backed by the oil resources I just cited. So we do have asset-backed currency that is used in international trade and international global commerce, okay? We do have asset-backed currency. Anyone who tells you that just because the Federal Reserve note, which is a domestic currency, is not asset-backed, that we don't have asset-backed money, is wrong. We do have asset-backed money. It's called the petrodollar, and it's been our asset-backed money since the 1970s. However, now all of the cows are coming home. Now, all of these things are beginning to unravel. And as a result, you're going to see much more volatility. You're going to see runaway inflation. You're going to see major institutions suffering. And I would guess that many of the big banks and the big insurance firms are going to collapse before anything worthwhile is done to prevent that from happening. And the reason I say that is that the dangers and the rather obvious political aspects of this were ignored by the British Territorial Corporation operating as the USA Inc. until the 11th hour, when they finally got busy and basically in a shed at the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base concocted the QFS system as an emergency last-ditch, last-minute, 11th hour kind of thing. And they thought they were going to sell this based on the Federal Reserve issuing a central bank digital currency. And what they did not anticipate was, first and foremost, that nobody was going to trust them to just enter digits in the ledger and call it money. And second, that the entire concept of a central bank digital currency is an anathema even in the banking community. So it was the central banks that were out of touch, delusional with respect to the retail banks and the amount of risk that the retail banks would be taking to start issuing essentially a digital currency with no guarantees from the central banks backing up that digital currency. So something else you're going to see is a lot of cash. It will be difficult to get cash and use cash because the Federal Reserve System, the trademarked Federal Reserve System, actually went bankrupt in 2009 in the wake of the Big Short fiasco on Wall Street. And so the Federal Reserve System was cut apart and parceled out to its creditors. And JP Morgan got the trade name the Federal Reserve Bank, and Chase Bank got the trade name the Federal Reserve Board of Governors as part of the asset dispersal in that bankruptcy. So now we have these things that are operating as the Federal Reserve Bank.
Good job.
When actually there is no Federal Reserve System anymore and hasn't been for a long time. And also the cash crunch will come because there's nobody printing Federal Reserve notes in this country since 2009. And so the smaller banks, the retail banks that depend upon the Fed to deliver cash to them are not getting the deliveries of cash. So they don't have it to disperse to the public. And when they no longer have cash enough to meet the demand of the public for cash, they have to close their doors. And this is why you're seeing all of these small banking franchises, like the local branch of, Citibank closing because they can't support the cash demand. And the receivers of the Federal Reserve System are not willing to print more of it because they see this, and correctly from their standpoint, they see these Federal Reserve notes as evidence of a crime and of a debt that they now owed as successors. So when you see a Federal Reserve note, think of that as number one, evidence of a crime, and number two, evidence of a debt that is far greater than just the face value of the note. And the reason that it is of far greater value than just the face value of the note is that every time that note was used in a transaction, it extracted goods and services, actual goods and services in return for the presentment of the note. So I want you to think about this in terms of a Federal Reserve note as being an IOU for a certain amount of money. Okay, so what happens? I go in and I present this Federal Reserve note and I receive a hamburger back in exchange. Now the note is passed to the hamburger provider, right? A hamburger has been, and the labor and other material and everything has been extracted from our economy in exchange for an IOU. But it doesn't just end there, like a voucher or a coupon where you go and you charge it once and that's that, right? No, this note went on, and the person who was passed the note for the hamburger then passes it on to the supplier of their hamburger buns, and they get, $5 or $10 or whatever it was back as hamburger buns. And now the value of the work that went into the hamburger buns and the material that went into the hamburger bun is extracted again. So instead of it just being a $5 IOU, it's now a $10 IOU, even though the face value hasn't changed. Okay, so Mr. Hamburger Bun guy goes, he's now got the hot potato, he's got the buck to pass, so he goes to his accountant, and the accountant gives him, half an hour of his time looking at books in exchange for this IOU. And once again, the energy, the service has been extracted from the economy and from the people for no equitable exchange. It's like the ultimate Ponzi scheme. And it's especially bad because look at it. When they booted up their engraving prints and they decided to issue these things that are called notes, which are IOUs, promissory notes, as legal tender, they knew what they were doing. And they set this system up so that these notes cost the same no matter what the face value of the note. So it costs them 4 cents to print a dollar bill. It costs them 4 cents to print a $100 bill. And the entire difference from the face value to the cost of printing that bill goes into their pockets. That's called seigniorage. And that is seigniorage that really, rightfully, lawfully belongs to us, to the American people and public who were the guarantors and underwriters of this entire shop of horrors. Okay, so first of all, they steal our seigniorage, which is the difference between the cost of actually printing the money and the face value of the money. Then in the first round of trade, where they go out and they pass this IOU off, they collect the rest of it, the 4 cents that they spent to actually print it, out of the value of the hamburger or whatever that the first transaction yielded. And this just goes on and on and on, eating out the good of the economy, because everybody's working for free. Everybody is providing goods for free. And there's no stated time or date or any form on that note guaranteeing when or how or what you're going to be repaid in exchange for all of this credit that you're extending to these vermin. Okay, so it's an intrinsically fraudulent system. It's been run as basically a gross fraud on the American people, and it's been used to extract vast amounts of natural resources, vast amounts of labor, and vast amounts of finished goods out of our economy. And at the end of the day, you're going to wake up and all of that is going to come home to you. And another way in which they cheated and defrauded us all was from inflation. Now, we have all heard about inflation, but do you really understand what inflation is? It's a devaluation of the buying power of the money. And it is essentially an unavoidable and hidden tax. And it doesn't matter whether your money's in the bank or whether it's in circulation, it's devaluing constantly as a result of this hidden tax that inflation really truly is. And so your buying power is eroded and the value of the money is devalued accordingly. So let's take a look at what's happened since 1928, which is just prior to the last big kerfluffle that resulted in World War II. In 1928, an ounce of gold was trading for about $28 an ounce. And I'm not being real precise here, but ballpark, $28 an ounce. Silver was trading for about 65% of the price of gold. So silver was trading somewhere around $15, $16 an ounce. In the real market, the market that was not rigged, okay? Anyway, gold today is, I haven't checked the actual figures today, but last time I looked, gold was trading at $2,300 an ounce. Getting on to a very, very, very significant 100% times 10 inflation rate. So that the Federal Reserve note that is supposed to be pegged against our silver dollar has lost that much ground. And that means that's been extracted from you because there's nowhere else for it to be extracted from. They've been siphoning off embezzling basically the value of your money or what was given to you to substitute for your money. They've been doing this consistently since 1913. And if you really look at it, the actual value as opposed to the rigged value.
Oh, shoot, Anna, I was trying to mute the other gentleman who had a live mic, but somehow I muted you instead. Can you unmute yourself? I'm sorry about that.
Okay, well,
Thank you.
what I was bringing forward to everyone's attention is that right now, the actual value of a Federal Reserve note is less than 1/2 of 1 penny. It's devalued to that extent. And at some point here, reality catches up with all the commodity rigging and all of the liars. And suddenly you have a day of reckoning is the only way to describe this. The same thing is going to happen with the stock market. The stock market that you think exists no longer exists. It hasn't existed since 2008. And what happened is that all of the pictures that you have in your mind from the movies and things that you've seen the stock exchange in New York and everybody with this wild melee of holding up these tickets and bidding and selling and all of that, That doesn't exist. That's long gone. It's all being done by computers that are based in Tel Aviv. Okay? And when you go on to the stock market and you're looking at the stocks going up and down and all of this, this is all being, it's all rigged. It's all just a staged delusion. It's, you know, like a sideshow trick. What's actually happening is that all of these corporations are self-reinvesting. They're buying back their own stocks. And that is making it look like there's action. It's making it look like there's this really active, even a bull stock market. And at a certain point, these players who are all kind of in it together will pull the plug just like they did in 1929. They'll all just sell everything overnight by agreement, by prior agreement. I mean, the ultimate insider trading isn't trading. The ultimate insider trading is selling. Okay. So overnight, they'll just collapse the stock market. It'll be gigantic losses, and it will be a giant rout. But meantime, what they're doing is they're tempting all the small fry, all the naive investors, all the people that want to make it rich quick are seeing all this action in the stock market, and they're thinking, oh, well, if I had only put down $5 on this stock last week, I'd now have $35. You know, no, all the small fry are being tempted. They're being lured like deer to a salt lick. Okay. And I can say this with certainty, absolute certainty, not only because of all of the self-investment that's going on, but also because the long-term and medium-term bond market is dead. It's absolutely dead. Nobody has any faith in the medium and long-term bond market. So when you see that, that tells you that not only is the stock market rigged and just, you know, setting up for another gigantic collapse, but you're also looking at a bond market that is reflecting back to you the actual fact that nobody is going to do a long-term investment in this situation. Okay, so the whole thing is being set up for a collapse that is worse by far than what happened in the Great Depression, and which will affect more countries than the Great Depression. And they are doing this cynically with malice aforethought and thinking that they're going to get away with it because they think, number one, we're too stupid to know what's going on. Number two, they think that we will just sit around on our thumbs and wait for whatever they dish out to us. And number three, they don't expect that we will take back our own authority and our own assets and our own resources and do the kind of recoupment that can save our butts, you see. They don't think that we're going to discipline them, and they don't think that we're going to defend ourselves economically or financially. But certainly they don't expect that we're going to mount our own banks. They just do not imagine that we have, you know, the capability of doing that. But we do. And we do because certain people, certain Americans, saw what went on during the big short of the stock market in 2007 and 2008 and got busy and have worked very hard for many years and invested a lot of time, effort, and personal fortune into developing a separate, stable, transparent banking system for the rest of us.
Who knows? Oh, wait.
Now, the focus of this banking system is not on the corporations. The focus of this banking system is on us, the little people, the small businesses, the families, the communities, and could care less about Exxon. it could care less about GM or any of the big corporations or the government corporations or anything like that. We just don't give a fine flying finger. Well, our concern is to take care of our people, to take care of those families and communities and small businesses. And so all of our effort, all of our marketing, everything that we have done is geared toward taking care of the people in the midst of this planned collapse by the corporations. And we are very much aware that this is necessary, or there will be things like starvation. There will be things like rioting. There will be things like, different kinds of disease epidemics that are caused by, the breakdown of sewage and waste management systems. It will be, and they intend for it to be an apocalyptic like destruction of America and Americans, but we're not the only targets. Most of the world has been targeted by these evil men. Certainly all of Western Europe has been targeted. All of Japan has been targeted. Many nations that have been affected in the Middle East, certainly Israel, Jordan, the Palestinian population, the Egyptians, the Syrians, the Iraqis, the Yemenis, all these people in the Middle East have been targeted for destruction by these same vermin. Many countries in Africa have been attacked. We haven't even heard in the mainstream media, but there have been multiple dozens of wars that have been promoted in Africa by these same European corporatist interests. And we never hear about it. For example, we never knew that our troops went into Mali in Africa and took over the government of Mali. We never knew that our troops assisted Belgian mercenaries in taking over the government of the Congo, not once, but almost a dozen times. We don't know that our troops went in and assisted other European mercenary groups, corporatists, owned, operated, and hired mercenary groups to go in and destroy Ethiopia's cultural heritage and to kill over 1 million Ethiopians in the past year and a half alone. We are sitting here fat, dumb, and happy in the target zone of these criminals. And, you're looking at me, I'm looking at you, everybody's scratching their head. Where are our valiant heroes? And all we have are, apocryphal statements and about the good guys in the white hats and how they're going to save us. And I have been saying for quite some time that if these people were actually white hats, we would be seeing a completely different scenario. If white hats existed, and if they were here for us, and not for their own coercive power and their own money, then we would be seeing a completely different world scheme. We'd be seeing an entirely different pattern, okay? I guess the way to say this is that there would be a totally different pattern. And we're not seeing anything good coming out of any of this. What we're seeing are two mercenary forces locked in a death struggle with each other, both of them equally ruthless and both of them uncaring. They do not care about life or death. They certainly abhor private property of any kind. They see us as, the rich travelers to be waylaid on the road and robbed by their highwaymen. And they're basically both bad to the bone. And you can go back 300 years and see this same pattern with the the competition between the British East India Company and the Dutch East India Company, where they would fight with each other and then they would collude against the public, and then they would fight with each other and they would collude against the public. And for the last several decades, they've been playing a game that is known as good cop, bad cop, or carrot and stick, where one corporation pretends to be the friend and benefactor of the people, and the other one plays the role of being the stick and the enforcer of unpopular laws and illegal taxes and similar atrocities. Okay, so it's not hard to see who the good carrot and the stick in this situation are. Obviously, Donald Trump and the USA Inc. were set up to be the carrot. Obviously, Joe Biden and the US Inc. were set up to be the stick. Now, what does this all have to do with anything? At the end of the day, it's just a bunch of crooks playing games and trying to hide behind a smokescreen of their own making. They are deliberately causing all of the problems with the commodity rigging, the central banks, the theft of trust assets, and all the other evils that we're seeing could easily be stopped by the militaries of the world if the militaries of the world were actually militaries that belonged to any country. But instead, they're militaries that are functioning as mercenary services, and instead they belong to specific corporations, for-profit corporations. Imagine that General Motors Company had a band of mercenaries, and Ford Motor Company had a band of mercenaries, and they regularly mixed it up together and fought with each other like a couple of gangs. And then at other times, when they had target, they would get together and they would get a con game going against Joe down the street, some innocent third party that they saw as prey. And so they would get together and collude to defraud Joe. Well, that's the kind of crap that we've had going on in this country ever since the Civil War. And right now it's coming to a head. Now, I don't know who this person is, but we had an incident where a member of the Texas Assembly showed up and actually went into the Global Financial Accounting Service, which is just an accounting service, right? And they attacked the workers there. And we're making all these irresponsible statements, accusing them of committing fraud and all sorts of other nonsense. The people who are committing fraud are the ones that have been in charge of your financial system for the last 100 years. 111 years to be exact. And prior to that, the US Army that was in charge between 1865 and 1907 was also committing fraud against you and yours. All these things were happening, and you were dead asleep at the wheel. And in fact, I have had many conversations with many world leaders who look at me and they say, well, you people are just too dumb to even breathe. You people didn't take care of your own business. You didn't question your own employees. You didn't hold them accountable. You let them abuse your credit. You let them sell off your land and your public infrastructure. You let them operate this quote unquote private-public partnership bullcrap on your watch. And now you have to deal with the consequences of your inattention. And what can I say? I can say that these con artists were very slick. I can say that they made very adept use of semantic deceits to confuse us. I can say that they made adept use of our school and university system to keep us dumbed down and unobservant and trusting and just going along like rats in a maze we were trained to push on that little lever and get our little portion of corn. And that's what we were doing for over 100 years. Just going along to get along, being nice little rats in a maze, fitting into our slot as little cogs in the factory wheel, being good productive workers, putting in our shifts, and and all to the tune of Yankee Doodle Dandy. I am heartsick. I am sick. I am sickened by what I've seen. And if you aren't too, well, I can only suggest to you that in my opinion, you should be. And I hope that all of you who are looking at the challenges of establishing and organizing and operating your own state assembly are properly outraged, number one, but also properly inspired and motivated to realize how extreme the situation really is. Now, these fools are trying to start a war because that's how they make their money. You've got a corporation that is a mercenary corporation that hires mercenaries for hire to corporate businesses. And how do they make their money? Well, think about it, folks. There are two ways for these corporations to make money. Number one is to start a war and use all these mercenary forces and throw them into the meat grinder so that they can collect on insurance and so that they can collect on basically betting against the outcomes of who's going to win, who's going to lose. And they can also make money by selling all the supplies that are needed for such efforts. Okay, so all of the defense contractors are sitting there with bated breath going, just like slavering dogs, wanting a war, pushing a war, sending in their lobbyists to talk to every Congress member. Oh, war, 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 war. That's all they want because that's how they make their money on your blood and your guts and your credit and your assets. So, okay, folks, it's time to wake up. They want to start another war because it's to their economic advantage to start another war. And it is to our distinct economic disadvantage and also represents the loss of our lives and our homes and our sons and daughters in any kind of armed conflict. And that's why we need to get organized. That's why we need to stop being the silent majority. That's why we need to be out there on the international public stage, pounding our shoes on the desk, just like Nikita Khrushchev. We need to be the big dog in the room. We need to be barking and we need to be biting. Okay? And every state assembly in this country needs to stop this la-la land kind of bickering and fighting and poking and looking over the fence at the neighbors. They have to somehow, each one of you as a coordinator has to go out there and inspire a sense of urgency and community and purpose. These people are just lost. I talk to them every single day. They run to me like little kids running to the teacher on the playground, unable to deal with even the most facile sort of controversy or difference of opinion. They're so socially inept. They don't even know how to conduct a public meeting. They don't know the difference between a public meeting and a private meeting. This is the harvest of 50 years of dumbing down. This is Jimmy Carter's harvest right here, so that people are totally unprepared to act like adults and take charge of their own lives and their own business. People that don't know that it's impolite to and unprofitable and immoral to gossip. Just real basic things. They don't know that it's an evil thing and unprofitable and wrong to lie. They're not being taught this in school, and unfortunately, the brood of parents that we have raised, most of them just leave everything to the school, or they leave everything to the church. And unfortunately, the churches are just as bad and just as taken over by corporatist interests as the schools. So, mom and dad, it's time to wake up, pour that big 5-gallon bucket of ice cold water over your head and stand naked in the street with the rest of us and say, enough's enough. Look where this has gotten us. Look at the seeds that they've sown and look at the results. Judge the tree by its fruits. And this is the fruit that we are getting out of Washington, D.C. and these district corporations that have been operating illegally, unlawfully, and immorally in the District of Columbia for the last 150 years. I tell you, it absolutely makes my blood curdle and run cold when I hear people talking about Washington, D.C. as being our capital. It's not our capital. It has never been our capital. It was set up specifically as a federal capital for the federal subcontractors to have a place to operate out of. Our capital is in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Get it straight, folks. You're the coordinators. You're the ones that are going to have to educate the people in your state. We do not stand under any constitution. None. None of the federal constitutions apply to us Americans. We are the employers. We're the ones who hired those rats. Okay? We're the ones who still have the ability to enforce those contracts. Okay? But we don't live under those contracts. Just think about this. Think it through for a few blessed moments. Okay, I'm going to hire a company to provide me with lawn care services. They're going to come to my house in their big shiny truck, bristling with rakes and garbage bags and everything needed to clean up the grass and the pruning and everything in my yard. And we take this for granted, right? Sure, it's normal. Everybody has the opportunity to do it themselves or to hire somebody. So our ancestors hired these 3 corporations, these 3 not incorporated at that time, but these 3 businesses to come provide certain services. All right, it's just no different than you hiring a lawn care service to come in and mow your lawn all summer. All right? That's the relationship that we have with the federal subcontractors. We are the employers. We hired them to provide what? Stipulated services, enumerated services. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These, the 18, 19, if you count trust services, which was added in later. Okay. But these were the services they were supposed to provide us, just that and nothing more. Have they provided those services? In a lot of instances, they haven't. Okay? And in a lot of instances, they've usurped upon the intended subcontractor and provided services that were substandard, and we sat there and just accepted it and took it. And paid for it through the nose, by the way. Anyway, we are not the subcontractors. We are the employers of the subcontractors. The constitutions lay out the form of their organization and the power within their organizations and their duties, and they stipulate that we will pay them for their services. Those constitutions are service contracts. There are 3 constitutions, one of which is dormant because the subcontractor that's supposed to be providing those services is dormant, and 2 foreign subcontractors, one British, one Holy Roman Empire successor. And we've been chasing our tails. We've been imposed upon, presumed upon, used, abused, defrauded, misrepresented, used for cheap mercenaries, lied to. Wake up. Wake up. You know, I'm here in the wilderness crying out, hey, fellow Americans, it's time. If you don't save yourselves, you're not going to be saved. There are no reserves hiding over that next mountain that are going to come thundering over and save you. There's no hopium. There's nothing. It's just bull. It's just bull and self-service and con games and lies and more lies until you can't even imagine that these people have the straight-faced gall to stand there and tell you this another day. Please keep focused on what's actual and factual and in your face. Keep listening to the fringe news that is leaking out. I mean, where did you hear that the contract with Saudi Arabia was expiring? Was that in the mainstream news? Where did you hear about the vast petroleum basin underneath the Eastern Rockies? Did you ever hear about that in the mainstream news? Did you ever realize that we were among the top 3 refined oil products producers and exporters throughout the entire time that they were crying and whining about not having any crude oil? You have been lied to. You have been used, deluded, purposely misled. You have been the victims of omission a while wide. They have not told you things that they had every moral duty to tell you. And you were not assisted, even though you had every moral duty and every moral reason to expect that you would be assisted. After the American quote-unquote Civil War mercenary conflict, the mercenary corporations sat down and they figured out all sorts of creative ways of separating you from your assets. And they have been doing this as a fraud game for 150 years. Now, what kind of damage has that done to you? Well, among other things, it's impoverished you. It has made you afraid to sleep in your own bed at night. It's left you in terror of such things as the IRS and the U.S. District Court, which actually doesn't have any right to be here and has no reason to talk to you about anything. These usurpers of our rightful government have been playing this game for 160 years right under your noses, and you have been going and watching the State of the Union address every year, and every year all of the military men in this country have failed to notice the fact that there was an American flag draped and struck. Now, I want everyone in the armed services to explain to me how it's even possible that they could see the State of the Union address and go inside the congressional chambers and see our flag hanging in the struck position and not say a goddamn thing to anybody. And they want to sit here and make excuses to me. I hope they're making excuses to Mr. Trump tonight. Folks, this situation is not only dangerous, it's evil. And it is being hidden from you in the anticipation that you're going to be caught completely dumbstruck, disorganized, unable to respond, unable to even think or know what to believe. They intend that this is going to hit you like a piece of frozen halibut. Whap! Right across your face. They expect to come in and take out your bank accounts and raid your bank boxes, your deposit boxes, the same way that they did in Cuba just recently. You didn't hear about that either. The Cubans woke up one morning and every bank in Cuba had been raided and completely cleaned out. All the records were gone, all the accounts were gone, all of the bank boxes were emptied. That's what they are planning for us and for every other country. And their excuse is going to be that the old system was criminal. And they're going to count you as criminals for using these banking services. The truth of the matter is that those banks are commercial maritime banks that were bankrupted in the 1930s, along with the bankruptcy of the British territorial entity doing business at that point as the small THE, United States of America Incorporated. Okay? And they have been running them under a condition of receivership ever since. They are all 100% bankrupt and always have been. They haven't had any money to loan to you, and they haven't had the ability to loan any of their depositors money to you by law. So what are all these loans that you've received? You've received your own credit. Think about the swindle involved. And they got away with it. At least they got away with it until we showed up, the Federation showed up and said, what in Sam Hill's going on here? You're securitizing living flesh. That's illegal. It's unlawful. It's immoral. Who the hell are you? What do you think you're doing here? That's what happened. Grandma and Grandpa and a bunch of other people that were just as old as we are, if not 20 years older, decided that, hey, this isn't only not kosher, this is downright criminal. And where are our police? Being misdirected by our military. But if you have mercenaries in charge of the military, they're criminals. So are they going to tell the police what to do? Are they going to give correct information and direction to the police forces that they hired to act as the muscle enforcing against the civilian population? Hell no. They're going to misdirect the police. They're going to promote narratives like the whole fear-mongering over sovereign citizens, that most beloved of their many oxymorons. But let's look at this again, folks. At the time that they are talking to you and calling you a sovereign citizen, what are they in fact doing? They're acting as citizen sovereigns. They're putting themselves above their employers. They're telling you how high to jump. They're telling you what to do with your lives and with your money and with your assets while they're purloining their paychecks out of your pockets. These public employees have gone way, 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 way too far. No employer in their right mind would put up with this. And no country that has been illegally occupied by its own freaking army should be standing around being quiet about it, either to the army or to the politicos that have inserted themselves as volunteers to represent you and to drive your corporate entities into bankruptcy on a regular cycle. They've been running up your credit cards and then stiffing you for the cost. I have to take this one call. I'll be right back.
That's fine, Anna. Go ahead. You know, while we're waiting for Anna, I hope it's not too loud for her. I'd like to be able to show a brief video. I think it was Johnny Perry that posted this video a few weeks ago. Actually, I think it originally started with Sovereign Mama Summer. A brief video regarding the value of the, oh, are you off the phone, Anna? Okay. All right. I was just going to pull up this brief video. In fact, if Summer's already on here, there was a video posted and it was a woman showing, you know, a piece of gold and what it was worth, you know, and next to a $1 bill, you know. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? I've got it here on my keynote. I just can't remember if it's on my common law slides or on my Yay, I'm on the Land Now What slides, but.
You know what I find even more amazing?
What?
All these videos with this guy going out and standing basically on the street corner with a little table. And on the table, he's got, you know, 1 ounce silver bars and he's got Hershey candy bars. And, you know, he's asking these young people, college age, high school, young professionals passing by on the street. You know, I'm giving these away. Would you like a candy bar or would you like a bar of silver?
Yeah.
And they take the candy bar.
Yeah. I mean, it's actually not funny, but it's funny.
It's to me, it's sickening.
Yeah.
We've raised a generation of children that are that stupid.
Well, and not only are they stupid in terms of the processes and what's going on, but they're also, you know, we've been living in a society that's been using, you know, graft and entertainment and, you know, dare I say the word sin, you know, to pull people into the world. And then they get stuck in the world, you know, and
The Hotel
anyway.
California.
Right. Yeah. That's
No.
that's
Kind of close to home, isn't it?
it sure is. Good example, Anna.
Yeah, they get pulled into the Hotel California. You can check out anytime you want, but you can never leave. Same kind of business has gone on. We are looking like the Roman Empire, you know, with all these orgies and sex scandals and perversions and carnivals and sideshows and fraud schemes and pickpockets. And,
Yeah.
you know, they talk about Nero fiddling while Rome burned. Well, what do you think the Congress is doing? All they're trying to do is start a war that you have to pay for with your blood and your resources to save their own vicious fucking hides. I'm sorry, I really shouldn't have said that.
That's all right.
Man.
It's going to make its way around the whole earth in about 14 minutes, apparently. So, by the way, I see hands are going up, but if it's okay with you, I've got this
Sure.
video from Sovereign Mama. I found it, and it really speaks to the education, you know, about the monetary system. So I'll just play this right now, and I just want to give a shout out to Summer and Johnny Perry, who made this video available. Apparently Johnny got it removed from his social media, but have a watch.
This is your fairy gold mother. And I want to show you the difference between real money and fake money. Let's start with a dollar bill. This was created to mimic this. Can you see how tiny it is? But today you can buy 3 cents. Well, guess how much this is? If you want to buy it today, it's $460. This is fake money that was created to mimic this. This is a $5 gold coin. And guess what? If you wanted to buy that today, it's $719. This is a $10 bill. It's actually legal tender. In other words, you can take this to the store and use it. It was created to mimic this. And today's retail price is $13.69. $1,369. And how about this one? You can take this to the store. I'm not sure you can buy that much with it. And you certainly can't buy this $20 gold piece. If you were buying this one today, it'd be $2,694. This holds your purchasing power. This destroys your purchasing power. This is in your control. This is in their control. Which would you rather have?
Right? Okay, so we need that woman to come onto the assembly. You know what I'm saying? We need educators that can take a complicated thing and I mean, we need more video content creators to, help to educate people. And you've given us so much, Anna, with your books and your interviews and everything, articles. And the rest of us need to, get the information out. So sorry.
Well,
I know I'm talking to the choir here.
and all this gossip about global. I mean, talk about shooting yourself in your foot. I mean, here is an American chartered bank that is standing there foursquare, giving back the difference that you lost to inflation to you. Now stop and think about this for a moment. An American Federation dollar is 1/10 of an ounce of gold. Right now, that's selling for around 234 Federal Reserve notes, right? That is a measure of how much, still an incompetent measure, but it is a measure of inflation between 1913 and today. And they are offering to make that up to you so that you don't lose your buying power in what's coming to roost here. They are trying to set you free of the Federal Reserve note and its abysmal inflation and decline. They're trying to give you back the losses that you've suffered as a result of the use of fiat currency and its inflation for 111 years. And all that they have received in return has been a lot of gossip and bad-mouthing and ignorance. So, I don't blame those people when they turn off accounts of lousy, bad-mouthing, gossiping people who come to them and say, oh, you're a fraud scheme, you're a Ponzi scheme, you're a this, you're a that, and who say, oh, I want my account closed. Oh, and then AFD gets distributed to the accounts, and all of a sudden they want their account opened back up. All of a sudden they're crying and moaning because, oh, their friend got 5,000 AFD in their account. Gee, 5,000 AFD times 234. Oh, that's a chunk of change, baby. And I got some news for you. We have this SIA program that we've been running and trying to make the rats cough up on their agreement to provide the mutual offset credit exchange exemptions, and we've been getting spotty results where one person gets their mortgage paid off and another one doesn't, and no explanation of anything at all. Well, we're going to do something immediate. We're going to open this up so that you can get immediate debt relief from all mortgages and those sorts of things in your lives. And this is happening soon. You'll be able to come right out from underneath those mortgages, those college loans, all that crap is just going to go away. And it's thanks to Global. And it's thanks to the Federation. And it's thanks to a lot of people like me who just got fed up and went for it a long time ago. And I want you to know that a lot of the people that went for it a long time ago suffered a lot. Anyway, if you've got any sense at all, keep your mouth shut and think. Think before you just open up your big mouth and make a whole bunch of ignorant assumptions and go sticking yourselves in the foot. What we've got going for you is going to save your bacon. It's going to save your house. It's going to save your family. It's going to save you. You're going to be able to eat. And a lot of people that aren't paying any attention to this dialogue right now are going to be trying to clamber onto the lifeboat that we have provided. Now, your job as coordinators is going to be to deal with the lifeboats and all those people trying to climb aboard. So get ready. Stop jerking around. Stop pointing fingers. Stop acting like little kids. Stop gossiping about each other. Stop being paranoid. Don't let people just trample on you. Don't let them set up authoritarian structures. We're all here together doing this because we are in it for our mutual interest and defense. Okay? We don't have CEOs. We don't have generals. That's them. Everything you ever learned in the military, drop it at the door. We do not have standard operating procedures. We want everybody to know the outline of the work that has to be done. We want the committees to get together. We want you to attack this as a group and make it happen, Cap'n. You know, just forget all the other stuff that you've been taught. Your indoctrination is worthless here. All right, well, let's take some questions and then I gotta go.
Okay, thank you, Anna. Well, we have, it looks like 6 questions. Let's go with Jenny. Go ahead, Jenny.
Hello, Anna. Thank you so much for all that you do. I have a follow-up question about the situation with Pope Francis being the patriarch of the West. How does that affect the fact that we are demanding him to liquidate all the criminal corporations? And how does that link to the Unum Sanctum Trust?
Well, the dirty rotten rat is trying to crawl out through the back window is what's happening. You know, they things got too hot for them in the land and the sea, and so now they're trying to get out through the jurisdiction of the air. Same thing happening in Britain. There's no king of England. There's no king of Great Britain. No monarch of Britain. Britain itself was just a company, basically. Again, corporatists. And so now we've got His Imperial Majesty, King Charles III. I don't see where he's even calling himself a king. He should be calling himself emperor. That's
Right.
the office that he took and accepted. So they're just all, you know, fleeing to the jurisdiction of the air, and we're going to have to meet them in ecclesiastical terms.
I see. Then it's still possible to liquidate Serco?
Oh yeah, all of this stuff that they basically vacated.
Oh,
The
I see.
The principals responsible for this mess vacated. They left the room. And the only way that, you know, the only jurisdiction where we still have traction on them is the jurisdiction of the air.
I see. Thank you so much. I yield.
Thank you, Jenny. Okay, Susan James.
Hey, Anna. Greetings to you and Jim. I have a quick personal question, and then I have 2 coordinator questions. first of all, I'd like to make a comment. We're still alive. We're still here. And we have the most oil in the world. So that's a positive. I want to let you know that I'm not getting any response from Global Bank. They blocked me because I put in the wrong password. So if you could offer some suggestions, I would appreciate that. Second thing is I am getting some questions regarding drill summons. People are getting summonses. How do they deal with the summonses when they get them? American State Nationals are getting summonses
From
Uh,
what?
for jury duty.
Just tell them you're not eligible to serve because you're not part of their peer group.
Okay, dokie. And I'm still not receiving inquiries from the TAC coordinator website. Could you pass that on to Dominique? Because he's not responding to me. So I would appreciate it. It's been already almost more than 2 months that I'm not getting not anyone at all. That's very unusual. But I do need help with the Global Bank because I want to be unblocked so I can access my account because I want to see about putting in some of my fiat money and making it into American Federation dollars, but I need to have my account open. So if you could help me with that or pass it on to someone, Josh Politier or someone, or Aki Hunter, I don't know. I would appreciate it.
Okay,
Thank you very much. God bless you guys. And God bless you and Jim.
take care.
God bless you, Susan. Thank you. All right, Pete.
Yeah, hi Anna. Anna, what you were talking about, the dumbing down over the last 50 years of people, and that was so strongly highlighted for me, particularly during our first lockdown. And I still see it today. And for me, it's a real dilemma. It's like there's so many people just suffering from cognitive dissonance, or even those that you can put the truth in front of them. They'll either can't comprehend it or they'll block it out because they just can't cope with it. So I've got to the point quite a while ago, actually. I just don't bother with trying to do anything with those people to assist them or convince anyone. They've got to be ready for it. But I was, I mean, that is a real problem. And I find that a really large percentage of our population are like that. And I know where I live, there are groups of people that are working in different areas that, for example, holding our local council to account for their decisions, their spending and everything else. And they're starting to wake up a few of our locals through a Facebook group. For me, I was ecstatic in January when I discovered that you were helping us internationally. And it's almost 5 years ago that I read an interview, obviously, that a transcript of an interview you did on the 6th of December in 2017. And from that day forward, I followed you, and I've been hoping that this day would come. But sadly, I'm feeling a little bit disillusioned because for me, the Global Bank group was a bonus. For me, it was about the assemblies, the fact that you were assisting and guiding people to set up assemblies internationally. And that was what I've been seeking and looking for ever since the lockdowns, which was just over 4 years ago. I couldn't find anyone locally that had been working with you. And I was aware, because I've been following, that the land recording service that you had up and running a couple of years ago, that got hacked, and then you had to start all over again. But what I'm seeing still now, I'm on a number of Telegram groups, which are assembly-based Telegram groups. There's so much focus on the Global Bank. So many people seem to be more interested in that than actually forming assemblies and doing the assembly work. And I find it rather disheartening. And I'm not sure how I'm going to cope with that. And it's a bit of a struggle for me because I've always, whenever I've set my mind to a task, tried to remain focused on it and till I can complete it. And I just feel like we're really not making any real progress. And yeah, as I say, I'm just feeling a bit disillusioned at the moment. And I don't know I mean, maybe you can say something about, I mean, how do we deal with this problem of the people that have been dumbed down? You know, it is almost like, for me, almost like an impossible task. And as you say, things could become urgent, but there's just only so much that we can do. Sorry, I've rambled on a bit there, so I yield. Thank you.
Well, you know, we're aware of the fact that when push comes to shove, there are going to be all these people trying to clamber on the lifeboat, and they'll be ignorant. They won't know what it's all about. All that they'll see is food at the end of the table. And they're all going to be, you know, scrabbling and trying to keep afloat and trying to keep fed and trying to keep warm. And we can't fault them for that. Okay, we have to accept the fact that, okay, they're ignorant, they don't know what they're doing, they're desperate, they're hungry, they're cold, they're scared. And, you know, here we have our little life raft out in the middle of the ocean. Well, they're going to come clambering over, and they're probably going to try to swamp the life raft, right? So we have to be prepared. Those of us who are sitting here today are in a crucial position. And we have to be prepared to face what's coming at us. And yet, what are our options? We just sit here and starve? We just let the rats get away with it? We don't object, we don't recoup our assets? We don't raise our hands and say, hey, that's my birthright that you're trying to steal? You know, we do nothing to organize ourselves? That's not an option. You might as well just go take a 9mm and go shoot yourself in the head. If that's your answer, someone will do it for you eventually if you just sit and let them do what they're going to do here. And, you know, I can only give the same advice I give divorcees. Don't go to the court to get divorced. Tear up the contract, take a picture of it, and then go take everything that you've ever owned before your marriage or during your marriage and go throw it off the nearest bridge. You know, because you are going to get reamed and rammed and reamed and rammed and reamed and rammed by these criminals that you're letting rule over you. Now that's the function of government, is to actually protect the people and their assets. And you can tell that they are not government by the very fact that they are doing the exact opposite of what government is supposed to do. They are not protecting you, they are abusing you. They are not protecting your assets, they are stealing your assets. And that tells you right there, right in your face, front and center, that they are not your government, nor, I would say, are they anybody's government. They are simply a bunch of imposters and criminals who are in the business of providing governmental services. Okay? So we've got the equivalent of, you know, a big corporation like Exxon providing us with governmental services. And we have got to bring this to the attention of enough people who are sentient to build our own government back and defend ourselves from this crap. And we have to grab hold of the bankers by the throat and make sure that they are not paying these people regardless of what we say or want. Anyway.
Yeah, and I accept all of what you were saying there, but one of the things that I'm finding is when you brought up about the people bitching and complaining about the global bank, and I agree 100%, but the part I find disappointing is that a lot of the people seem to be more focused on that than the assembly. And that, for me, is the most important thing, is the assembly and the work of the assembly that we need to be doing.
Right.
And, yeah.
The bank is just, The bank is just a survival mechanism. It's important for our survival as individuals, as families, as communities. But it's not, the bank is made possible by the Federation and by the assemblies, not the other way around. And people need to have that firmly in view. And maybe just to tell them that in, just as bluntly as I just did. The bank exists because of the Federation and the state assemblies. It would not be here, it would not help you. You would not be the clientele being served here. Okay? It's because of the Federation, it's because of the state assemblies that you have the option to walk back through the door, claim your birthright, and have the advantage of the bank.
Can I add something here, Anna?
Sure.
For anybody that's feeling disillusioned, like Pete, if we can look at what Anna did for us as an example, I mean, there was a time when it was just her and James, right?
Yep,
It was
sure.
just the two of them. And so,
No, there was a third party. There was Jim, me, and God Almighty.
okay, there you go. Right? So the remnant exists. And so don't lose heart. Don't lose heart because, they've been at this for us. And it doesn't have to be a majority. It just has to be enough. And so as long as there's us, there's enough. We can do this, you guys. We can do this on every state. We just have to stop being distracted by fighting and stuff like that. But we also have to hold each other to a high level of integrity. So, sorry, I don't mean to preach, but I just don't want anyone to lose heart. We
No.
have to just keep our pens to paper, keep our nose to the grindstone, keep our eyes and ears alert to what's really going on, and don't back down. Don't back down just because others don't have the eyes to see yet or the ears to hear.
I have to tell you, I had a heart-to-heart conversation with Hunter. And he was very frustrated, down, discouraged, not because of anything going on with the actual work, but just some of the vicious, stupid things that people have said about him, about Global, about the entire effort. And, I said to him, we were made for this. We are warriors in a different kind of war. We are not girded up with guns and ammo. We are girded up with truth and with passion and with integrity and purpose, and we are not going to call retreat. We know that unless we succeed, this world won't be worth living in or spitting on. So we don't ever think about it in terms of turning back. There's no turning back. We think of onward and upward and as fast as we can go. And so, we had just gone through this entire process. I want you to realize that your Federation of States has almost single-handedly caused these vermin to retreat and vacate both the land jurisdiction and the sea jurisdiction. There's a reason I just wrote that article, 2 out of 3, and counting. There are 3 jurisdictions, air, land, and sea. We have forced them to vacate 2. And we're on the way to forcing them to vacate the 3rd. So that our entire movement worldwide of the people coming back into the lawful land jurisdiction governments is affirmed, unopposed, and not subject to any kind of criminal attack. Now that just in and of itself, quite apart from anything to do with economics or currency or commodity rigging or monopolization of transfer capability or any of that other stuff, just that in itself is a miracle. It's a flipping miracle. And we are zoning in, we are triangulating the final assault on the air jurisdiction. Okay? Now there are a lot of people out there who are feeling tired. They're feeling disillusioned. They're going, oh my goodness, look at this situation. We have crawled our way up. We have, come back from being human trafficked. And we've come all the way back home. And we've rebuilt our assemblies. And we have, begun this grand effort to restore our government of, for, and by the people. Okay? We've done this great thing. But we're tired. We're looking for good news. We're looking for a return of our peace, our security, our return of our standard of living. We're looking for a return of the value of our investments. We're looking for justice. We're looking for all these good things, and we're still waiting and struggling, and it just seems like one more step, one more thing, always something more, always this terrible, grinding, burdensome, can't give it up yet business. Well, I want to tell you something about me. When I was a young person, I lived in a communal housing situation where I had several different roommates of various sexes. And some of them were very athletic Californians with the beautiful tans and the great bods and, just gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous young people, right? And all full of vinegar. And they were always talking about how they were going to go out and they were going to climb this mountain. They were going to climb this mountain. And anytime they brought it up to me, I said, nah, I don't climb mountains. The only reason I climb a mountain is if I very, very desperately have to get on the other side of it for some reason. I don't look at that as any kind of fun or athletic challenge or anything else. I just look at it as an ugly obstacle, and I'm content to look at it from a distance. You want to go climb mountains, you go climb mountains. This went on for over 2 years. Virtually every week, the conversation came up about how they wanted to go climb this mountain and how we should all get together and we should all form a climbing effort. And we should all go climb this mountain. Finally, one day, I'm just so finally fed up and irritated with all the talk about going and climbing this stupid mountain. I said, all right, let's go climb the mountain. You're on next Saturday. So they went and they got all the fancy equipment and they got all the gear and whatnot. The day comes. They have all their state-of-the-art techie camping and all this gear, right? We start up the mountain. And it's, deeply switched back at the bottom of the mountain before you get to the real climb at the tree line. And then it's just every man for himself and straight up, right? Okay. Well, we start tromping up the mountain, and I was at the very bottom and I was the very last. And I was by far the slowest of all the hikers and all the mountain climbers or would-be mountain climbers. And I was just going along. I was so far behind them. It was like they're a quarter mile ahead of me, right? The straggler was a quarter mile ahead of me. I just kept talking along, walk, putting one foot in front of the other. Remembering my alpine ancestors who spent a lot of time yodeling up there, in the Tyrol. And about midway through the day, the first one of the great athletes came down the trail toward me. What's wrong? Oh, I have blisters. I can't go on any further. I have to get home. He's limping along. Okay. One by one, all these people that were in such great shape, were such athletes, that wanted to go climb the mountain, blah, 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 blah. One by one, they all came back down the trail toward me. And one by one, they all passed me going straight down the trail. I was the only person left on that trail going up that mountain. And I never even wanted to climb the damn thing, right? Okay, but now I'm committed, I'm gonna go do it. So I keep climbing and climbing, step by step by step by step by step. Okay, it's Alaska. We have daylight until midnight. We started climbing at like 7 o'clock in the morning as a group. And just before midnight, I got to the top of that mountain. And I had climbed and I had clawed and I had come through multiple plateau stair-steppy type things where it was bitterly disappointing because you get up to the edge and you look over and you think, oh, I'm gonna make it, I'm gonna make it, I'm at the top. And then you get to that edge and you look over and there's another whole traverse and there's another whole rock wall and you're going to have to do the same thing. You know, it was just absolutely mind-boggling. Finally, I get to the top of this mountain. And what do I find on the top of this mountain? I'll tell you. On the top of this mountain, you had this absolutely fabulous view of this, on the other side of the mountain, of this pristine valley with all these other mountains and all these other streams feeding down into this gorgeous valley. It was like Shangri-La, right? But right there at the top of the mountain, all there was were a bunch of stones and beer cans and garbage that had been left there by other climbers, right? So I took out the plastic garbage bag I had in my backpack and I picked up all the beer cans and all the other garbage. And I turned around and I carried it all right back down the mountain. And you know what? I never heard another word from any of those folks about climbing any other mountains ever again.
That's an awesome story. And thank you for cleaning up the mountain while you were up there too. Wow.
Well, you know, there's a difference between those who talk and those who walk. There's a difference between those who, you know, start out with all this passion and glory, and there's those that just absolutely grit their teeth, go cold, and do it.
Yeah.
And those are the ones that are going to make the difference here.
That's right. Well, are you ready for another question? Louise has her hand up.
I know what Louise is going to say. I'm a rotten, feckless, no good neck, didn't get.
Oh, no, no, no. I'm not saying that. I'm not going to give you any questions today. I'm going to give you my commitment. We've been at this thing. We've been at this thing too long. It's time to get over that mountain and see that beautiful scenery over there. I'm telling you, there's a think tank nationwide outreach committee that has started. They invited me to bring the idea about the postcards and the county tours to the committee meeting, which I did. They're excited about it. They've adopted it as their project. So we're going to get on this project and get the information out there to every doorstep. For those people who don't know, they're going to know. We're going to put those postcards in those mailboxes. We're going to, we've developed the idea even more now. So for those ignorant, well, I wouldn't say ignorant people, those people who don't know the information, who needs to learn and be made aware, we've got a web TV platform we're going to start, a blog website we're going to start to get people educated, informed about what's going on as we bring them in with those postcards and those county tours. And the last thing we layered on here is to take the world stage. So we're going to give ourselves some time frame here. About within the next 3 years, we should be ready. Our 50 states should be up. Our county should be close behind. And we can let them know, hey, we here. And this is what we need y'all to do. And whoever don't, that those people who don't come to the table, we can put them on blast and say, those are the criminals. So we can point them out to all the world. Those are the people you need to be paying attention to who are not doing their jobs. We here at the table and we're here and we are the government.
Right.
That's what we're preparing to do with our think tank outreach committee. Those who's feeling disillusioned or, you know, those who need some inspiration and some direction, come to the think tank meeting. We're having one next week. Tammy's gonna put the link in the chat there. I put an overview of all the stuff I've just said. I put that in the chat. Read it and be ready with your questions and be ready with your passion at the meeting, so we can get this thing going, get that momentum rolling, so we can stand up everybody.
Amen. Couldn't said it better myself, Louise.
I yield.
Amazing, Louise. Thank you. And I assume it's going to be on your guys' Telegram group or something. If I think Tammy runs that group. Tammy, if you could put that link into the chat so everyone could show up on Wednesday.
We'll put
All
it
right,
in there
Gerard.
again, Tammy.
Go ahead, Gerard. Oh, you're muted.
Okay, hi Anna, hi Michelle. Thank you all. So if I'm hearing you right, Anna, what you're telling us in the form of self-govern and everything with the government, that the entire US government is an incorporated entity with no sovereign power over us. And so there's nothing to fear. Their whole thing is one big illusion. And if all of us could just see it, that the entire US government is an incorporated entity, is that what you're, if I'm correct in the self-governing sense, to summarize everything, is that what you're telling us?
I'm telling you that there are two corporations in the business of providing governmental services masquerading as our government.
And impersonating us.
Right, they are incorporated entities. They are for-profit foreign corporations that are operating out of the District of Columbia and various other places around the world, and they are misrepresenting themselves as our government when in fact we are their employers.
And so basically, whenever they have any so-called dealings with us, it's in regards to a usufruct franchise that they created in our name, like they did the United States of America.
Yes.
They impersonated that, and they did the same
Yes.
thing to every one of us. And
Yes.
so therefore they have to hold us harmless in anything we do. And with our fee agreement in our courts, we sink them every time till they get it.
Yes.
In the summary.
Good job, Gerard.
So the other question I was just thinking in regards to Louise, if we really wanted to ramp up our counties and our state assemblies, couldn't we figure out something at the federation that you would like everyone, that like something like Did You Know, in a pamphlet that we all could print out ourselves and put on people's car windshields at Walmart, at the sporting events? Everybody could just put a pamphlet. So now that we know when 60,000 people come to a sporting event, when they go to their car, whether they read it or not, they got it. So therefore, when it all hit the fan, nobody has an excuse that you wasn't informed.
Right. And we don't want to leave anybody behind. We don't want to leave all these Americans who are federal employees behind. We want everybody to get on board and figure out, okay, this is where the bear went. And, you know, we want to bring them all along.
Right. So I was just thinking, I mean, that may be Louise. I don't need credit for anything. If you all could take that to the group, or if the federation could approve a flyer that explains
That's
every
the postcard.
point.
That's the postcard. Stick it in their window.
Yep.
Bingo. Everybody could just put that out where we could print it ourselves,
Yes,
put
you
a little
can.
couple
It'll be at the
dollars
website when
into
you
it.
do it.
And everywhere we go, casinos and everywhere. And just as long as it highlights, the benefits and pros and cons and who the enemy, I love it. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share in the update regards to the probation. Ever since I sent the other notices and things, I haven't heard anything. So it's just been silent with the federal district court. Yeah,
know,
so they haven't said anything.
There's something going on here, Gerard. I've been picking up information from different levels of the federal and state governments where they are shutting up and standing down, and where they're even talking to our people and saying, we're not even going to look at those registrations anymore. We're not going to go to the registrar's office about any of this stuff because it's hokey. So, you know, these are state employees who are telling our people that you don't have to worry about it anymore. We're ignoring that. That doesn't count because it was fraudulent. So the word is getting out, but the more we, you know, the more we bring the facts forward, the more we inform, the more we educate, then the quicker it all snowballs up and we start getting not only relief, but we get services we need out of these people. They've been misdirected.
Yes, I mean, I mean, I'm excited about. I mean, when it comes to standing to driving, I just feel that a lot of us some still have that nanny state fear in us, and we have to just realize that this whole system, now that we on land and soil and we are American state nationals, that whole incorporated system has zero anything. And if they want to, my old saying, if they want to come get me or take me or any police or anything, I'm just going to say, well, guess what? We both in trouble now. I'm going to tell them we're both in trouble because I'm going to bankrupt your personal family life for what you did. And then when that example gets out, leave them alone. And Ohio court's supposed to be up here soon, I'm hearing. So I'm excited. I mean, especially in Ohio with our court coming up. So
Ohio
serious
is
business.
making progress.
Yeah. So that's all I had. I thank you all for allowing me to share. And I hope when it comes to self-governing, we can see the simplicity and what Anna has given us every tool, the use of FREC, not a corporation. Don't represent a corporation. Superior concurrent general jurisdiction. I mean, all these key words, specially designated national in your system of things, all those key words are like bullets for a traffic stop.
For sure.
Like, get out of here. I'm your employer. That's what all that means. If they
Yes.
like, what all that means.
Well, yeah, and I have spent the last 40, 50 years talking to lawyers, and I know for a fact that most of them are completely illiterate and don't know anything about law. And they don't know anything about religion, and they don't know anything about philosophy. So basically, these are people that have been trained like hunting dogs to do a specific task according to certain rules and codes. And that's it, baby. They're not dealing with a full deck, most of them. So, you know, it's up to us to educate the lawyers too, on top of everything else.
Right. And I just believe too that another key, I know that the bank is working hard. I know the gentleman was a little frustrated that people were more concerned about the banking and things. But like you said, when it comes to sovereignty, you know, financial sovereignty plays a role. And I think when it comes through, it will knock the dust off of a lot of us and a lot of worries and pressures or insecurities that we have in the nanny state. And this, I think that type of confidence will bolster a lot of people. And at the same time, we will be like walking billboards. That's another thing I thought about, if we could put billboards up across the country.
We got lots of options here, folks. And, you know, it's only limited by our own creativity and whatever resources we can bring to bear. You know, we're all in this, and it's urgent, and we all need to work together. And I'm just hoping that everybody here tonight caught the full force and import of all these economic and financial factoids that are circling the drain here, and that you will look forward and imagine to yourselves how you're going to feel when you no longer have a mortgage, when you no longer have a college debt, when you no longer have a car loan, when all that stuff is paid off and you are debt free. Isn't that going to be great?
It so is, yeah. And I do want to add an example right before we go to Tammy, what you were talking about them kind of standing down. Someone on my assembly sent this to me on the 20th. It's a letter that says, "Dear taxpayer, thank you for your correspondence dated April 8th, 2024. We are writing you to acknowledge we've received your letter stating that you've revoked your election to pay federal income taxes. Your account will be noted. If you have any questions, you can call 800-829-0922. If you prefer, you can write to the address at the top of the first page of this letter. When you write, include a copy of this letter and write your telephone number and the hours we can reach you. Keep a copy of this letter for your records. Thank you for your cooperation. Elizabeth R. Donovan." Pretty awesome, right? So we're so used to getting the other kind of letters.
Well, they're terrified that we're going to start sending in the 1040X and claim back the last 10 years of federal tax total that you paid in. You know, they're getting real polite over there at the IRS, and they're going to get even more polite at the district court, because I'm about to shove a big wad up their butts.
Woo-hoo. Okay, let's go to Tammy.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Michelle, thank you so much for hosting this tonight. And Anna, thank you so much for your time as always. I did want to note, piggybacking on Luis's comment about the think tank. So we are having a meeting. It's I guess, what would you call it? A nationwide, I don't even know what to call it anymore because we have nation states. But anyway, it's not a committee meeting, it's just an outreach think tank. And we will be discussing her initiative, which is quite very comprehensive and includes a lot of things that our assemblies are needing for outreach. So I will be putting that on our Telegram page. I put it in the chat already. And so we would encourage anybody to join that meeting. My question, Anna, is, I know last week I asked you about recording our logo. And I guess the question our recording secretary had was, who would I be putting it under? So would I be recording that under my name on the LRO, or how would that work?
You do a special recording in a special file, and you call it for example, the Ohio Assembly, and it's on the recording, right? And it's recording your copyright to your logo for your assembly. And that means it doesn't belong to any one person. And then you never have to worry about situations like we've got in Michigan, where the knotheads went and set up trademarks for themselves, not for the assembly, and registered it so that it's a district assembly instead of a state assembly, and thought that they were doing a great thing.
Yeah, that's the thing that we're looking to avoid, because if I guess her dilemma is so she would have to create a special file called the New Jersey Assembly file.
Capital T, the
Okay.
New Jersey Assembly. And you would have a record of your logo, your trademarks, your name, all that stuff would be claimed and would be owned by the living American people of New Jersey. It would be a statement that this belongs to your assembly and that it's an unincorporated state, and just make it clear that you're claiming this for the assembly as a group. It's not just one person's.
And since this isn't something that she's used to creating, because she's only been recording things for people,
Right.
if she needed help with this, who would she reach out to?
Well, she can always get hold of me. It isn't that hard or difficult, really. If
Okay.
you think about it, what she's recording is your lawful person.
Right.
You know, something I want to bring everybody's attention to is this issue of names. According to all of the ancient scriptures, none of us have names. According to the Bible, we don't have names. Our creator, the one that has the right to name us, didn't. Okay? And we're told that in the future, we will be named. But for right now, all we've got are kind of nicknames. You know, whatever our parents decided to call us is what we've got as a utility in order to function in this world. Okay? So actually, when you're recording all this stuff, and one of the big fights that we have ahead of us at the federation level is the reclaiming of intellectual property, which includes your given name, which is your lawful person. So even your name, as it stands, you know, is a person. It's just that it's a lawful person. And so the assembly is a lawful person. Just wanted to put that out there for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that, Anna. And I yield.
Thank you, Tammy. Okay, Tony.
Maybe
Tony,
she
you're muted.
might have gotten tired of waiting.
Hello, no, I'm not tired. Hello, and thank you,
Welcome,
Anna,
Tony.
for everything that you're doing, and thank you, everybody here. This is wonderful to see everybody's faces and stuff. This is the most people I've seen on a chat in since I started this about 5 years ago, so it is great. Plus, I've been really busy in my life. So thank you, and woohoo, let's go. I'm all ready for this. My questions have to do with the financial situation. I'm renting. I've been renting for 12 years, and I really would like to not have to rent anymore. I did put some funds out there on the global bank, but then the pay now list disappeared. And so I don't know what happened to that. I was not notified that it was going to be going away. And then I was told in our last Colorado meeting that the Global Family is not going to be paying any of those debts.
Paying what debts?
Okay, we were told to add some bills to the pay now list.
Yeah, the Sign in America. Okay.
Yes.
All right. All of those things are bills that you already have and incurred and paid, right? And you're looking for reimbursement.
No, those
Okay.
one was a college bill that I actually had to stop paying on it because I got really sick and it was on deferment for years.
Okay, well, all those things that are in the past,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to deal with what's present first.
Okay.
And so, for example, you've got a mortgage on your home and you're paying monthly, right? Global Family is going to come in and just pay that mortgage off totally so that you're debt free.
Okay. Well,
Okay?
my situation, I'm renting and I
Right?
really don't want to rent anymore. I want to buy a house,
Well, then,
you know, but I don't know how to use the system that they got set up.
well,
I watched the video they recommended and it didn't make sense to me because it says to use one thing and then connect it with a QR code or something. I've never used a QR code, so I have no idea. I'm of that generation where we don't know what's going on. So I'm kind of
Well,
asking for help with that. So
there will be videos that show you how to do all that stuff and, you know, kind of walk you through how to get that technology lashed up. This is not a real good time to be buying a house. You know, it's a good time to be getting rid of a mortgage.
okay.
It's a good time to being enabled to use that to pay your rent. It's a good time for a lot of things, but it's not a good
Okay.
time buying a house because we're still going to go through this whole process of having to, you know, pick up the chain of title and the land patent and all that stuff is going to have to be argued out in this next phase.
Oh, okay. Thank you for sharing that with me. I wasn't sure where everything was at. Yeah. That makes sense.
Guys, I'm losing my voice. I'm gonna take Steve.
Thank you, Anna. I appreciate that. I'm in Missouri
Yeah,
and things are pretty sketchy here. I have gone through, I'm papered up. I've got a credential card and yeah, I still am spending hours a day unpacking your website, just trying to come up with a strategy that I can make sense of. And what I mean by that is, you know, I wait for people that I meet, and I'm pretty isolated down here in Missouri. But when they start making comments about the bad government or the problems that they're having, I allow that to be the inroads that I use to share with them some of the stuff that I copy off of your website, like the one that said that Anna von Ritz is the Thomas Jefferson of our day. That little 3 or 4 page document says a lot. So I printed 20 of them out and I've handed 10 of them out already to these people who are now getting back to me and going, wow, that's great. I want to look into that. And I can do that on a simple level. As far as banging my head against the ones that don't want to listen, I know better. But the other side of the coin for me is we already have these officials in these places, like the sheriff in this county and the police chief in the town that I'm living in, and some attorneys around here and the city council. And it was my thinking, and if I had enough knowledgeable ammunition to articulate the conversation well enough, you know, is to go down there and schedule a meeting with them and say, hey, I'd like to ask you if you understand the jurisdictional difference between where you are and what you're doing and what I am and what this card represents and what my papers say. And just use that as a beginning intro to see where they are. And they say, is that a viable strategy from your perspective?
well, you know, the word is trickling down to them from on top. And a lot of places are going through kind of an awakening. But then you hit these little pockets where you've had a group of cronies ruling over their neighbors for 30, 40 years. And, you know, you come in and the very first words out of their mouths is, oh, he's one of them sovereign citizens. They're dangerous and wacky.
Right.
You know, and I think maybe that maybe we ought to put out a pamphlet that asks, are you a citizen sovereign? Not a sovereign citizen, a citizen sovereign. You're a public employee and think you are the employer instead, huh?
Right, right. No, that's kind of a semantic argument. You brought it up a few weeks ago in one of your Monday night talks. I heard you say that very same thing. But from my perspective, you know, it's like the guy that broke away here in Missouri and took a bunch of people with him, you know, I hear that he's kind of angry and he wants to fight the government and they're his enemy and all that stuff. And I'm like, you know, ignore them. They can just go off and do their thing. You know, it's like, because I don't see any of these guys that are running the corporation and doing that part of their job as the enemy. They're just uneducated and misinformed and misled, like most all the rest of us were.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to put the ball in their court in my comfort zone instead of being out there and you know, getting pulled over for anything, you know,
Right.
or just being a victim of their ignorance. And you know, I don't plan on having an argument with them. My whole premise here is, are you aware of the difference of jurisdictions? Do you know who you working for and why and what that means? And it's like, and I've read all your books, and I've read some of the other ones that are out there about this, and especially this, you know what's wrong, you know something's wrong when, which is great. I just gave 2 of those away today. But it's almost like I need an answer key. And I've been looking around on your website for an answer key of a specific strategy that I might be able to use to lay down in a simple form and communicate to an intelligent human being that's the sheriff or the police chief, so that if I can explain to them that, oh yeah, you do understand there's a difference, that your jurisdiction really doesn't apply to me. So then can you make sure that your officers that work for you understand that, and that we will be having further conversations, and I will be helping more of the people in this town, people that to come back to the land and soil, even if they just filed a single page document and the 2 witnesses, if that's all they have to do. And people, I mean, they're going to go the easiest route they can. So if I can offer them, look, you can do this with 3 papers instead of 30 like I did, then that's an easy step, but don't stop studying after that. I mean, it's like that.
Right, you have to study this stuff in order to know it well enough. I was so impressed, Gerard Scott there on Ohio summarized so neatly tonight something that is key information. It's a key insight about the usufructuary duty of these corporations, which is
Yeah, he did a great job of that.
and that comes from study. That
Right.
comes from years of thinking about this stuff and really honing in on it and learning it and making it your own. And so you can't just, pop up automatic and be an expert in this stuff. It's just too much of it, too long gone, that so much stuff has gone under the bridge. But you do gain practice and you do gain skill in explaining it, the better you understand it yourself. And I think that if I were you, I'd work with Louise Campbell Anthony there and her think tank, and the be part of the think tank, and bring forward the need to communicate with local government and state government officials, and to get them on board and to even assist them. I know that this is, in some parts of the Patriot community, it's anathema that I should speak of having any kind of a relationship with these people. But the fact is, now take a look at the situation of Governor Abbott in Texas. Here's a man who is between a rock and a hard place. He's an American. He knows that border should be closed. He also knows it's a pain in his butt that he's getting all these influx of illegal aliens, and they're a threat to the people in his state. So he wants to do the right thing. He wants to close that border, and he wants to, get some programs going that make sense of this and sort out the problems that are associated with it. But he has no money because the federal government won't give him any money as a franchisee to do anything about a problem that's counter to their policies, right?
Mhm.
Well, the state assembly could come in there and say, good on you, Governor Abbott, you're trying to do your job, and it is your job right there in the federal constitution, saying that our border is to be closed and protected. Okay, so we're authorizing you to take some money out of the state trust, however much, maybe we'll authorize you to take $20 million out of the state trust and apply it to border control. Now, the state assembly in Texas can do the same kinds of things that the state legislature can do, only more so. They can actually go into a situation like that. And if one of these guys is doing something they want him to do, they can support him in it. Both
Can I ask you,
financially
can I ask you a question? I mean, there's a procedural structure about how to do that, right? I mean, you've outlined that many times, I imagine. I just haven't been able to find the specific location where that information is. It's not condensed enough yet. I'm still peeling the layers away in the website.
Well, look, these fellows are administering a gigantic state trust in your name. You know,
Right?
the Texas state is very rich, but Governor Abbott, as a trustee, cannot access any of that money because he's a trustee. He doesn't have the power to access that for any of his ongoing expenses. Okay, but the state assembly can tell him, okay, well, we authorize you to use some of our credit and some of our assets and go close that border. They can directly tell him to go close that border, and they can tell his attorney general to go close that border. And they are responsible because they inherited the office and entered the vacated office of the common law official. So they inherited the responsibility.
So they could just have a conversation with him directly without even going through a court.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, that makes a lot of sense to me. All right, all right. So that's kind of what I was getting to. It's just about how to articulate the argument, right?
Right, and it's about being peaceable. It's about being
Yeah,
level-headed, practical, you know, just matter of fact. Hey, we're the employers, you're the employees.
Right,
You
right.
got yourself into this situation where, you know, you're gonna need our help.
Right. I don't want to have an adversarial conversation with these guys when it's all about just, I mean, it's the vibration, it's the love, we got to bring the love in our own way, without having a knee-jerk reaction to all the fools and idiots out there that just won't listen. And I'm not too worried about them. They'll work out their stuff on their own. It's the ones that really are trying to do
Right.
something. And of course, I feel like I'm the only person in my county that's actually filed my documents. And so I'm trying to find out who's really interested in understanding it. And there's so much disinformation around here that I just say, look, I've studied this stuff on and off for 30 years. And once I discovered Anna's website, I quit looking anywhere else. So if you trust me, then you have to trust her and just go and read her stuff and you'll do the right thing. And that's what I'm working on right now. Anyway, I love you. I love you a lot. I really appreciate what you've done. I've read so much of your work and I barely scratched the surface, but I thank you a lot and I yield.
Thank you, Steve. No, I know, Anna, you mentioned that your voice was kind of going out, so I want to honor your time. And I know we have a few hands up, but of course we can always ask these questions to be paused for next week, if that works.
I'm really,
Yeah.
I'm feeling it. I'm
Okay.
sure you can hear it.
Yeah, absolutely. We can definitely, Laura, Robert, Paula, and Loretta, we can take your questions next week. Don't let me forget, we'll have you put your hands up first. Okay, next week. And also, I just want to chime in with something that I learned really recently, and that is that, the small businesses in your town have a tight relationship with the local city council. And so who you may also want to approach are those small business owners that are members of the chambers, because they have these committees, they have these like liaison committees that work with the city councils, and they have to please the businesses in town. And who pays the businesses? It's the local people. So if you need some, additional help, I maybe try also educating your favorite store owners or, restaurant owners, wherever you're actually spending your money. you need to get a coffee moment with those guys and say,
Right.
hey, listen. And if they're not on the chamber, you know, negotiate that, help them get involved with the local chamber. Cause I'm a witness to the incredible amount of activity and momentum that the business owners can do with the Chamber of Commerce in their area.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. That's really good leverage. And also clubs, if you're a member of a club, you know,
Yeah, service clubs. Yeah.
you just never know. Take it, try to explain it to the vets. You know, we've got a guy here who's a vet who's he's was badly wounded, and so he's a disabled vet, and you know, he's taken it up upon himself to explain all this stuff to his fellow veterans. We all of a sudden we got a whole bunch of veterans that have joined us and come home, and that's a wonderful thing because, you know, and I should point this out to all the veterans, because you served in these various capacities, you are owed a lot of money and a lot of benefit when you come home. And that's why they keep you from coming home. They never let you come home after you're served unless you send them a specific a personal letter to the commander of your branch of service and tell them that you're returning to your birthright political status. They will continue to presume upon you and not give you the full benefit of your benefits from your service. So once this whole thing gets sorted out and all of our veterans come home, they're going to have the benefit of not only being Americans, but of having been veterans too. So it's almost like a double dollop. If our guys get it through their heads what has gone on here, they'll all be in a far better shape than they presently are, and we won't have homeless vets, and we won't have vets standing on street corners with little cardboard signs saying "work for food." Okay, this stuff has got to get straightened up so that even though they were unknowingly serving as mercenaries, these men don't deserve to be dishonored and left hanging. It's certainly not my intention that they should be. So anyway, but yeah, just talking it up among your friends and your peer group and your club members and your PTAs and your church social groups and all of these different contacts that we all have, it will make a tremendous difference, not only for our country and but for our own lives. I mean, it starts with each one of us, and as we reach out and it becomes family, it becomes community, it becomes business owners, it becomes the organizations, and pretty soon you've got everything turned right side up again. Now I'm going to stop talking because I am losing my voice, and I've got Harold here who's going to pound me on the back and say, "You haven't eaten all day."
Right. Okay, now listen. So next week is your birthday, and I think everyone wants to give you the night off, unless you're like, oh no, I don't want to do anything without you guys on a Thursday night, which which would be a silly thing, of course. So can we give you a birthday present next week, Anna? Could we have, or a born day present? Could we have you take the night off next week? And could we sing happy birthday for you tonight?
Well, let me think about that. What I had intended to do, among other things, was to talk about veterans issues next Thursday.
Oh, wow. Okay. So,
and to you know, read some precious documents from our military so that you get what they're supposed to be versus what they've become through no fault of their own, except for a few lying, scheming, power-hungry generals. But anyway, I was going to make it a D-Day celebration. There you go.
Awesome. Okay. Oh, that's awesome. Okay. Look
Okay.
how dedicated you guys. I mean, we're trying to give her the night off and she's like, oh no, I got something planned for you. So
Well, you know, one of the 4 pillars is the militia, and the militia has to dovetail with the military. So, and you know, we all have to work together to make all this stuff work. So, that's D-Day. It was D-Day before it was my birthday. Let's put it that way.
I appreciate that, Anna. I'm a Vietnam veteran and I'd love to hear that story. So I'll be there next Thursday.
Okay, we'll
Right.
see you.
Right on, brother.
Birthday!
All right. Well, I guess we'll
Happy
get
birthday,
party.
Happy birthday, Anna!
Good night, everybody.
Everyone, good
So much,
night.
Anna.
Happy birthday, Anna.
Happy birthday, Anna.
Happy birthday.
We love you.
God bless everyone.
okay, thank you everybody for being here.
God bless everyone. Have a good night.
Thanks, Michelle.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Michelle. Did a wonderful job.
Thanks
everybody for showing up. Thank you, Anna. Happy Born Day.
Okay, now, oh, that's so
Oh,
cute.
that's great.
That is so cute. Look at Christina. Thank you, Christina. That's so cute. I love it. All right, now, Bernie has a question and I know Paula has a question, and as long as I'm out of here by 8, I'm good to go. So Bernie, why don't we start with you?
All right, no question at all. What I wanted to share was the Global Family Bank this past week came out with emails, and it talked about 3 types of currency. It talked about the AFD, which is the American Federation dollar. It talked about the fiat dollar, and then it talked about the US dollar. And the US dollar, as Anna mentioned tonight, is a 1-to-1 because it's backed by an asset, which is the oil. And so if people need clarification, to me, it was very clear when the Global Family Bank came out with that email this week. And I don't know how many people saw it, but I'm sure I'm not the only one on their list. So
Yeah.
it explained those 3 currencies to me, so it made sense. And then when Anna mentioned tonight the US dollar, that's what she was talking about, and that's what the Global Family Bank is talking about. And then the other thing that I wanted to do, and I know you don't need anybody to stick up for you because, Michelle, you don't need anybody to stick up for you. But so there was a lot of talk going on about this trip that you're going to make to Plymouth Rock. And by the way, I've been there. I've been to that monument. I used to work in Boston for years. And I also worked for an architect firm in Plymouth, which had some old houses of the Pilgrims. And I've done restoration work on them. So, and not far from that monument in Plymouth Rock, about a half a mile, is one of the buildings I worked on.
Wow.
So, yeah. And what I think is great about this is that your insight to this is not the deep state. People have brought up, well, it's the deep state, and it's the Pilgrim Society is run by the Freemasons. And, some people are having a difficult time with that. I think the mindset that we have to have, which one of our members here on Maine said, Beth Pereira, that this is a great opportunity for people from, the different states. The people from the different states being able to get together. And so I think this is a great thing. And then there was the thing that some people had brought up about it's biblically based. And the Bible is full of errors and all that. Well, yes, the King James Version has got a lot of errors in it. And the other Bibles have it too. But the Geneva Bible is a better Bible because it was done before 16 excuse me, the early 1600s.
Yeah,
So-
before King James's Bible.
Before
Yeah.
King James, right? But there's something that if there's a lot of great principles in the Bible, you can't deny that. And if you go your life according to those good ones, your life is going to be better. But if anybody really wants to get down to, well, where did the Geneva Bible come from? And where did right here. Okay,
Oh,
this
wait,
here.
I can't read it. What does it say?
This is the Dead Sea Scrolls. This
Oh,
was
wow,
written,
cool.
yeah, and of which I've studied. So this is the Dead Sea Scrolls. Now there's about 11, people who are academics who have translated those into English, and there's several other translations out there. But the great thing about it is that they're not off in their translations. All of these different translations are not really far off from one another. They may use a we instead of a they. So these
they were dealing with pronouns in the 1600s too, huh?
yeah. Well, this one here was done. This was done in the 90s. This translation was done in the 90s because the Dead Sea Scrolls never became available really until the 90s to do translations. And then the other one is the Nag Hammadi scriptures that comes from the Dead Sea Scrolls. So if people want to get back to as far back as original and from the the King James Version comes from the Nicene Council, and so does the Geneva Bible. And I don't want to put either one of those down because they're great books, and there's a lot of great principles in them. But they came after the Nicene Council, which was 346 AD. And that's when Constantinople changed these scriptures.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, they
So-
became agendized, right? With
Yeah.
the Nicene Council. Right.
Yes, right.
Uh-huh.
Well, these here will bring you back to as far close to the originals as you can possibly have. And that is the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Nag Hammadi Library, or what they call a library, but these are the Nag Hammadi scriptures in written form in English. So this is a great way for people to get back to the original as close as you can get. Unless you're a scholar of Hebrew and Aramaic, then you can go to the texts yourself, the actual Dead Sea Scrolls and the Nag Hammadi Library, and you can read it for yourself and do your own translation. So that Plymouth Rock and that monument is filled with biblical things. And it's a tremendously good principle, biblical, on each of those four corners. So people who have an issue that the Bible's on that monument and it belongs in the society is run by the Freemasons, and our light that's going to go there and have presence is going to do an enormous amount to get rid of any of the negativity that goes with that. So I think it's a great thing that people can get together and go see this. So there you go, Michelle.
Thank you. Yeah, you know what it makes me think of? Do you guys remember that there's that iconic picture of, it was a World War II picture, I'm pretty sure. And I think it ended up being considered a fake, which is a bummer, but it's that iconic photo.
With the raising of the flag?
Raising of the
Iwo Jima.
flag. I'm like, that's us. We're going to go and we're going to raise our flag and we're going to throw it down. And if that is a Freemason, monument, they were clearly on the, being on the backs of the pilgrims. They were stealing the good names of the pilgrims, right? So, it's like, I look at it like in a way, it's a conquest, because we're done with evil. And I don't care if they stole the name of the pilgrims and made a stinking secret society out of it. Well, that was yesterday's news. The Americans are back. And if we're not ready to stand firm, then what are we actually doing here? As far as I'm concerned, every monument belongs to us. Every national park belongs to us. every waterway belongs to us. It belongs to us. And so I'm not going to be afraid to go anywhere. I'm like, I
Yeah.
will be there because I want to meet all of you. And I can't wait to hang out, give hugs, kiss babies. Like, you know what I'm saying? I just am like, let's go.
Yeah, yeah. So I think it's going to be something that'll do tremendously good for our country. And yeah, and I think it's going to uplift a lot of those people who do show up. Yeah. So thank you, Michelle, for all you do.
Thank you, Bernie. I appreciate that. And you know what? I wrote, I've heard of the Dead Sea Scrolls before, but never read them. You know, never read anything. And also the Nag Hammadi, haven't checked that out either. So I
Yeah.
love the opportunity to check out new things. So thank you, Bernie.
Okay.
Hey, Michelle, do you mind me interrupting?
Go ahead, Lori. I'm okay with
yeah.
it. It's Laura and Robert. No.
Well, I just need to ask Bernie something. He was mentioning a lot of information from GFG, and I was wondering where he's getting that information. 'Cause
Okay, information
I haven't
from
heard anything.
from the AFD and the Federal Reserve note in the US dollar. Is that what you mean?
Well, you were talking about the emails and stuff like that.
Oh,
Where are
okay.
we getting that information? Because I heard something about it, but I don't know how to get one of the emails. I haven't even heard any more information on that. So I was just wondering how you were getting all this information from GFG.
Okay. So in your email, do you ever get any emails from the Global Family Group at all? Have you ever gotten some like, go ahead.
The only thing I get is notifications each month of the deposits that they're making.
Okay, so I would go to your junk box or your mine is a junk box. You know, or spam box. That's the other one. I don't have a spam box in my email system. So go there and see if they have notified you, because even though I've whitelisted them, this came in my junk box, but I have a notification set up on my junk box. So when somebody does send me something, I get notified.
Okay.
But it could be buried in your spam, or it could be, you know, from your junk box. I don't know what system you use, but
Well,
I did receive an email. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I do see now that I have 2 emails in my junk folder, but I also get regular emails from them in my regular inbox. So I'm not sure why this is going to junk email.
Well, it may
I'm
take a
already
little
getting.
while. It may take a little while for your system to whitelist them. So transfer the junk one to your inbox, and then whitelist them or put them in your contact list, because that's what I did with. I got an email from them in the junk box. I think it was Tuesday. I don't know. This week has been so busy. Today's Thursday, right? So either Monday or Tuesday. And that's when I opened it up and saw. And then I whitelisted them, put them in my contacts, and moved it from the junk box to the inbox. And then they sent one tonight, just before this started. They sent me another one. So it's now been transferred. It's not going to junk anymore. But it's in that first email that it explains that.
All right. Well, thank you. I don't want to take up any more time for
Oh,
other
no problem.
questions.
No problem.
So,
Thank you for asking.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, Laura and Robert.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for staying on and taking my question. We listened to your yay, you're on the land, or you've on the land now, from May 21st last night. It was very, very informative. We're trying to rescind our signature on our marriage because we've been involved in a huge CPS case. Unfortunately, we knew nothing about this. They took 3 kids and kidnapped them on February 14th of 2022. My 2 boys aged out. It's really, really, really a serious thing. So I guess somebody had put Anna's phone number. I don't want you to think I'm traumatized. Everybody thinks I'm traumatized, but I was actually abducted, raped, and held hostage by an Aryan Brotherhood Nazi who told me that he had drones and he knew everything I was doing back in 2002. And my boys are his. My husband came along and adopted them in 2014. But when they went to turn 18, he came back. I tried to file an EPO. The courts wouldn't listen. They've continued to give him immunity. I've gone to hospitals and claimed this poisoning. Well, it's part of this biodigital convergence agenda. It's what's in the shots. Like I'm a walking receiver and transmitter. But my concern is really I filed my paperwork. I have a baby deed on my daughter. She's been gone since she was 5. She has cystic fibrosis, and that's from the technology they put into me because it does it's a DNA chromosomal mutation.
Yes,
So they're keeping her because they're like getting $30,000 a day. But I can sue like every hospital. I can sue the FBI, the CIA, or seek remedy. That would be the correct words. And it's just so overwhelming. And that's why I wanted to speak with Anna because I'm new. I just started in January. Now I am disabled, so I probably spend at least 10 hours doing meetings and trying to learn everything. I'm really excited. In Kentucky, we got all 4 pillars stood up on Tuesday because we elected a coordinator for our international, and we're doing our rural assembly elections on Sunday.
Wow.
So, that
Congratulations.
That's fantastic.
I got goosebumps saying it.
Yeah.
I'm so happy. I mean, that's my biggest go. But I would like to speak with Anna because if I can get remedy, I would like to donate most of it to the assemblies because it's just where my heart is. I've put and today I went to Christie's litigation meeting and I said, well, I found this thing. We're on Facebook. It's We the People. We're going to the Supreme Court. And Doug Minnick was like, oh no, you need to withdraw that. So, I just don't want to trip over my own 2 feet while I'm trying to do this, but I am being extorted and we haven't seen our daughter in 2 months. And there just has to be more that I can do that I don't know that I think Anna's expertise could. My biggest concern is, I do ionic foot detoxes. I don't know if you've ever heard those, but my daughter needs them and she hasn't had them in 2 years. So it's just been one of those things. I think that's part of why they came in. They know, and they just keep saying I'm crazy. I mean, that's their whole mind control thing anyway. So I was wondering, I seen somebody put Anna's number, the Marshal at Arms on California in the chat. And I was just wondering when a good time was to call her, if you thought this was precedent enough to call her, because I appreciate everything she's doing. And the last thing I want to do is put some huge thing on her, but I do feel like I could use her advice. So
Yeah.
I'll yield.
Check your email.
Okay. Thank
Yeah,
you.
you're welcome. Absolutely. God bless you.
But,
and your family, love.
if suffering really gives you credibility, I'm all there. I'm a warrior. I should be dead. I've made it. That was his threat. I'm going to kill you. He did it to my sons, and I'm really extremely afraid that they're being very mentally manipulated right now just by the courts, and they're scared of me. And I'm like the only one that would protect them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My son, before my husband adopted them, my son would come home with 105 temperatures from this radiation poisoning. And I would take him to the hospital and they would say, well, give him some Tylenol and ibuprofen and lots of hydration.
It's all the wrong stuff. Yeah.
Right. Well, it would only take his temperature down to 103. He'd miss a whole week of school. He didn't even start reading until 5th grade. So he was delayed because he was sick all the time. And the doctors weren't doing anything. I mean, it's really disheartening because I trusted all these people because I'm a trustworthy person.
Right.
And when I found Anna, it just all made sense. I mean, my ex told me he was a serial killer for the government. He already killed his dad when he was 14. And he told me he was doing it for a life insurance policy. So I've kind of put it all together that is this birth certificate. And he said he came after me because I was Catholic. I was raised Catholic, went to Catholic school, baptized, got that baptismal certificate, you know. I
Uh-huh.
haven't been Catholic for 20 years. I'm sorry, my husband says I'm talking too fast, but I'm trying to get a lot in. So,
Well, my heart goes out to you. You've been through so much, and yeah, this is the level of evil that we're dealing with. And, not everyone has been through the trauma that you've been through. In many ways, there's just been other kinds of trauma, but I can't even imagine what it's been like for you. But we've got a few other hands up. I want to
Okay.
honor you, and I thank you for sharing your story and bringing this forward. And that's definitely way beyond my comprehension about how to deal with that. So I've connected you with Anna in an email, and hopefully she'll be able to give you some pretty solid advice to step forward and do something about this.
okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate it so much. Love to you.
Thank you. Love to you too, Laura. Thank you. Okay, Christopher.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, maybe I missed the memo, but from what are you guys saying that they're taking like, can I deposit payroll checks now in the Family Global Bank?
Oh no, what happened is, well, they opened up, they made it easier regarding the vault. Remember how there was the vault, like this rush to get any investments, money that you don't need to live on right away,
Right.
into the vault. And then they had to close the vault. It was like, sorry, we can't take any more money. They had to, I don't know if they had to go to a different bank, or there was some major transition why they had to close the door on the vault. Well, they announced, I think it was either yesterday or the day before, that the vault is now open again, where they're able to take additional deposits of US dollars by wire transfer. And there's a two-step process. One is you have to create your account on the Global Family Trust site. It looks almost identical. Once you click on create an account, it's almost identical to when you created a Global Family Group regular AFD account, right? So you create the vault account, and then you have to email. There's a particular email address where you send them information indicating that you've opened up a vault account, and then they'll send you specific wire transfer instructions. And so if you, again, only money that you don't need right now to live on, because we don't exactly know when the funding is going to happen. It could be any time, or it could be, gosh, the first I heard about this was in 2021, and it still hasn't happened, right? So things move slowly, but these baby steps are getting us to the end result of having a functional bank. But right now it's just the vault.
Right. I'm just looking forward to the day where I can deposit my payroll checks into the regular, Global Family Bank, be able to deposit checks in the Global Family Bank, that kind of thing. I'm just looking forward to that.
Yeah. Yes, we all are. Oh my goodness. Okay. All right. Thank you, Lori. And you guys, I'm so sorry, but I got to go rapid fire here. Go ahead, Lori.
I'm sorry, that was me, and apparently my hand was up.
Oh, no worries. Oh, it's okay.
Sorry.
You don't need your hand up?
Yeah, I already asked my question, so.
Oh, from before. Okay. Go ahead, Paula.
Hey, Michelle. I don't know if you remember, we had talked a while back, but I'm now a coordinator because
Yay.
somebody's got to do it. So my biggest question is, do all coordinators need to have access to the LRO?
Yes.
Does it matter?
Yeah, you've got to be able to access your, people that are status corrected on your state.
Okay, I'm currently a recorder, so I already have all of that.
Oh,
but
okay, yeah.
Just wanting, I'm trying to get some other people in line. So can you just direct me send me in a direction of where I would start, or what? I've been doing this for 2 years. And now they're just, everybody in the assembly is like, you're doing it all, so why not get on these calls and start doing it all? I'm like, well, but I've been doing it all, but I don't know where I need to go. I mean, I have the coordinator handbook. Do I need to notify Terry? I just need to know where to go with this.
Okay, yes. So if your state has, if you're the coordinator for your state, Terry has a Sunday training every Sunday at 4:00.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if Terry's still on the call. She was earlier. I don't see her right now, but if you want to, you can send me your email address and I can connect you to by email. And so she'll get you on her distribution list.
Okay. Oh, great. I'll put it in the.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And I also recommend that you go to the go to Anna's website if you haven't already, and go to the search feature.
Okay.
And in there, type in coordinator handbook.
I have that already.
Okay, so you have that, and then there's also there is also a woman down on San Diego County who created the quote "How to Stand Up in Assembly" booklet that's being edited right now by Anna.
Okay.
And when I connect you with Terry, ask her to send you a link to the latest version of that particular handbook.
Okay.
Because it's being edited, but I know some of the pages have already been, they're being, accepted.
Okay. Got it. That's all I needed.
Okay, super.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, now I see someone Jocelyn. Okay, Jocelyn, I need your email if you want me to do that. Okay. All right. Well, everybody.
Hey, Michelle, can I put in a little plug for the Marshal at Arms for people that, for coordinators that don't have
sure.
Marshal at Arms?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're a coordinator or if you, and you don't have a Marshal at Arms, you are invited to come to a Marshal at Arms gathering. And that is on Friday at 6:30 Mountain Time. And it's where Marshal at Arms kind of get together to gather information and help. Since we're part of Quorum and Decorum, we try to support you guys and help you build your pillars and all that kind of good stuff. So if you don't have a Marshal at Arms, we suggest that you get one and have them come. If you are a coordinator that doesn't have a Marshal at Arms, you're more than welcome to join it.
Awesome. Great plug. Thank you. Okay, everybody. I'm just going to take a couple minutes here to grab these emails that have been dropped into the chat for me, and I'm going to be shutting down the meeting here in just a second. But I want to thank you all for being here tonight. I really, here we are. It's up to us. So none of us have ever done this before, but we get to do it. Why? Because we're the ones that, God put together. So here we are. It's us. So
we thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
You're welcome.
Have a great night. Thank you, Michelle.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Michelle.
I'm sorry. Since I'm copying and pasting, I'm not seeing who's saying what you're saying. So thank you.
I'm trying to ask you, did you just say that you're stopping your meetings? You're not going to be doing that anymore?
Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up because I thought about it. I thought about it earlier and then I forgot. Yes. So I had a major change in my work schedule. And so now I can't do my classes in the morning on Tuesdays and Thursdays anymore. So I'm just going to have to figure out when on earth I can squeeze those in, even if it's once a month for each class or something like that. But I'll be sure to let everybody know. And I've already taken them off of the link tree. We have a California Assembly link tree. I've taken those down. And there are playbacks. The California Assembly has a Rumble account. We have a Mop and Bucket channel. We have a Common Law 101 channel, and we have Yay, I'm on the Land, Now What channel.
Right. Okay.
So you can
I'll
search
try to
Rumble for
remember all
those
that.
channels.
My thing is, I'm hoping that other education committees have reached out to you, because this would be the perfect opportunity for them to step it up and bring that education. You know, because I know there's committees out there that would be very, very interested in your slides and your your PowerPoints. I really hope that Arkansas did reach out, because I do know Penny. Penny is my.
Oh, is that, yes, I have heard from Penny. My issue is I've tried to download my PowerPoint, or it's not a PowerPoint, it's Keynote. And I don't know if it's because I have videos embedded. I don't know what the story is, but I have not successfully been able to transfer these files. So I did send a PDF copy to, I forget who it was. And even that apparently was difficult to open. So
Right, you sent it to me and it just said it was corrupted.
yeah,
And
Christopher.
so, yeah,
Yeah.
so if we can find a way to, get those slides, or maybe, maybe if you can find somebody that's tech savvy that can figure it out, we would really love to get those slides, because we would like to kind of, keep up what you've started, and because you did such an excellent job on it.
Absolutely.
That
I
is
know
so
it's
awesome.
been mentioned many times already. So, and I know Penny she either logged off or something. So I just wanted to touch base with you on that, because you
Maybe a
kind of know.
memory stick.
Huh? Is that you?
A memory
Maybe
stick?
no, maybe a memory stick. Like we can buy a memory stick from you with your PowerPoints on it, and then like we send you money for a memory stick.
Oh my
And
goodness. I wouldn't
why
accept
not? We do
it.
it for
We
Anna.
could do donations. We do donations
Yeah.
as
Well,
nationals. Yeah, we don't like, no. I
Right,
would
that's what I'm
donate. I
saying.
would donate generously.
Right.
Oh,
We
you guys are
donate
so
like
sweet. My goodness.
with Anna's, we can buy her articles on memory sticks, make a donation to buy the memory sticks of her articles. Maybe we can do the same thing with you, send you a donation and for putting the PowerPoints onto a memory stick, that, something like that. That might
Well,
work out perfectly.
Yeah, that's just a thought. Just a thought. If
Yeah,
I know
the sentiment is so
really
sweet. You guys could donate to
guys have
Anna.
done so
Donate
much.
to Anna, donate to the assembly, yeah, no worries.
Just
I
a
do
memory stick, please.
I
Okay,
do
thank
have to, I'm late, so I have to
Yeah.
hop off, but
wanna let
if you guys want to stay on, if there's someone that wants to host, I can hand over hosting capability, to
My phone's about to die, so
Absolutely.
God bless
I just
you
wanted
all.
to say
Thank
that
you
really
so much.
quickly, Michelle. I just wanted to say that really quickly, Michelle. I just thought I would bring that up, and I'm just so thankful for you. I really made my decision to go ahead and do the priority over security when I met this group. So that's what I was in the process of trying to figure out which national I wanted to become. And anyway, with that, I hope you take that straight to the heart, because it raised me up. It raised so many others, and I'm sure we'll be in touch. So you have a wonderful evening, and thank you so very much for everything. I yield.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I remember when you were a baby national coming onto my classes so long ago, Amber. Thank you so, and look at you, you're on the coordinator call. Woo, woo. All right, you guys have an awesome, awesome, amazing night, and go ye forth and multiply. We'll see you later. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
God
Michelle.
bless.
Thanks, Michelle. Good night, everybody.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Thanks, Michelle.
Bye.